one of my core thesis behind why you would want to own Bitcoin in a portfolio is the idea that basically there's inflationary monetary policy everywhere, and Bitcoin represents a sound money safe haven for the printing of more currency by basically everyone. What I didn't have in the playbook for Q1 this year was a Trump administration coming in and actually being more efficient. And at the moment, it's a lot of news. I don't know how much is real, but it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to actually get much closer to balancing our books than what the previous guys were doing. And basically, it's taken the heat out of the markets in a way. A lot of things have pulled back in the last kind of 4 weeks.
Mhm.
Is there a recession? Like the big R word has been bandied around a little bit. Or is this just like a lull before actually, do you know what? We can't balance the books anymore, and we're just going to print a ton of money using debt, and we're just going to see asset prices rocket, in particular Bitcoin. But I'd undercooked the idea that a government could be more efficient. And that's where I'd be
Mhm.
slightly wrong. And that's where I think we're sitting at only $80,000 a coin right now. I thought it might be like double that easily by this stage. So yeah, how are you thinking that through? And does it really affect the adoption of Bitcoin and the price?
I think it depends on your perspective on what drives an economy. Are we
Mm.
like just Keynesian, and do we say, look, we got to print and money's got to roll, and we got to fill useless plane seats and whatnot for the economy to grow? Or if we do cut the fat and get people to more productive, will that be leading to positive growth as well? What we see now in the markets is that I think US government travel has been cut by 50% in the last 2 months because all
Well,
the useless flights. So all the airline stocks have gone down, quite a lot because the planes are not filled with useless
government
government
staff.
employees doing useless
It's wild, that
flights.
kind of stuff, isn't
So
it?
there's a lot of stuff like that. At the same time, like you cut, 1 million government employees, they go home. What are they going to do? My contention is that if you stop giving people free money, they will start thinking of ways to add value and do something useful for society.
Mm.
So I'm in the positive side where basically if you say to somebody, actually, you won't get disabled benefits anymore, or you won't get unemployment dole anymore, or you don't get a government pension anymore, that might incentivize those people to take some responsibility for their own lives and do something productive. So where you do see now that, sure, if the government spends a lot less on, let's say, bombs and useless plane tickets and bureaucracy, oh, the economy is going down. Well, no, it's just taking the hot air and the bullshit out of the economy. At the same time, bringing a lot of smart people to market to maybe start a business and do something useful. So I don't think that the Bitcoin only gets value from printing money. And in fact, all the value that Bitcoin gets from printing money isn't really value. It's just the dollar going down. If
Yes.
you double the amount of dollars. So Bitcoin now being at it, like what I'm hoping for is that they don't print a whole lot more money to make the denominator of Bitcoin less valuable and therefore Bitcoin look more valuable. What I'm hoping is that the US government will actually start producing really cool stuff, maybe Optimus Prime and whatnot, and that the actual value added to society will be reflected in the Bitcoin price. It's the productivity, the efficiency. So whereas, I mean, I am, in one sense, an accelerationist. I've been always been like, okay, let's just essentially print to infinity. Bitcoin goes to the max, and we'll all live happily ever after. Now I'm more like, hey, Trump and Musk maybe are doing a good thing. Let's cut the deficits. Let's cut the spending. Let's get to being actually productive and making America great again. And then see that productivity increase reflected in the price of Bitcoin rather than just the reverse of the dollar going down.
Mm. And this is a very, I mean, I love what you're talking about here. So there's basically two things. Like, yes, maybe we could just hope they press the hyperinflate button and therefore the dollar figure of Bitcoin goes to the moon. But like, what does it buy you? And actually, it may still buy you the same amount of gold. And what that
Yeah,
would mean is the
well,
extra
yeah,
value has not been created and gone into Bitcoin itself.
yeah.
And that really is a very important point. This is then a very generalist sweeping comment. So, take it as that. But there's that whole point, isn't there? It's like, don't trust, like, a man who's incentivized not to think because they're being paid by the government is going to continue not to think because they're being paid by the government, and they'll always vote
Yeah.
for the government. So the idea of a democracy as a sham when half the labour force is paid for by the government, and it's
Hmm.
the education system or the healthcare system or the police force or you name it, right? It's like you don't actually benefit from pushing back in some ways, but actually now you've lost your job because no one needed it in the first place. Well, what are you going to do? And I'd like to think that someone who then reacts and betters themselves will feel better. Do you know what I mean? They
Exactly.
would have got off their ass and done something about it,
Yeah.
and the free
Yeah.
market will evolve and an opportunity will arise. And actually, they didn't need the benefits or they didn't need the pension because actually they're only 35 and they could find a different job to teaching for 45 years. And that's actually really cool. And you can feel that literally in my own body, like how much better people would feel when they're working like that.
Well, exactly. We meant to be free and we meant to take responsibility and we meant to think of creative ways how to improve our own lives and then go into the market with proposed ways to improve everybody else's life. And the free market decides if that's worth it. If you figure out a way, let's say, oh, I'm going to improve everybody's lives by raising great cattle and making the best steaks, and the market values it, that's how we progress as society.